Hello everybody, my name is Erik Teren Mullins, and today we're going to be checking out the Halcyon ship's Chandrila Star line's figure of SK-62O. This cute little miniature droid is actually an exclusive that hails from that illicit Star Wars hotel. And for some of you that want to know what it is, or what it was, rather, I will put a link in the description down below. It's kind of a long video, but it's almost like a documentary of watching a forest fire. It is hard to look away, and it's so extremely... I'm not going to talk too much about it. Jenny Nicholson made such a perfect video encapsulating everything about the whole experience, and its extremely high price tag. You really have to watch it to have a proper understanding of Disney's hubris when they attempted to make something like this, and for who their target audience was. But if you had the option to be able to go to this Star Wars hotel, there was a merch shop, and within the merch shop, you could buy a replica of the droid that they had moving about the spaceship hotel. I personally found his design to be so cool that when I found out that there was a figure created of him, I wanted to know more. And now that the park has come and gone, I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, shoot, how did you manage to get this in today's day and age? And how can I maybe get one? And I'll get into that during my final thoughts at the end of the review like usual. So for now, let's just start up with this review. I actually have a full unboxing for this figure, and if you would like to check that out, be sure to check the link in the description below. Starting with his feet, he's got 3 of them. The center one actually has this little white tube piece that's in between the 2 silver ones. You can squeeze it inwards in order to unplug it from the body, and this foot here can rotate back. This is so you can put him in his, more comfortable driving around mode. This ball in the center actually spins around, and this allows you to have a lot more degrees of movement while you remote control him around your home. If you have carpeting and really long hair or long-haired animals, be prepared to have to use tweezers and pull out all sorts of gunk that's going to get stuck in these wheels. It's a little frustrating, but it's kind of like par for the course whenever you get anything that's RC related and you have long hair. We don't get a lot of paint applications on this centerpiece. I find it looks good, but it does feel like kind of cheaper plastic. You get a seam line straight down the center. As you can clearly see, they've bolted these 2 sides together. As for his 2 other feet, they are identical. We get a hard plastic one in the back that you can easily rotate. Meanwhile, the rubbery one on the front does not rotate as well, but this is the one attached to the motor, which allows you to drive this figure around. These feet are articulated forward, and this way you can actually move the legs backwards to have him driving around accordingly. Forward, backwards, to the left, to the right, head movement. Almost a whole 360 degrees. We had a couple of paint applications on these as well. They aren't perfect, but they're not terrible. Everything just seems so bare minimum and simplistic. But the sculpt of the mold that we have here is pretty good, and I feel like if you sanded areas down and you really wanted to do your own paint job, you really have something decent to work with here. Along the front, we have these little tubey wires, and they feel like a softer, more rubbery plastic that goes around and into this giant, almost looking like something that would hold batteries. It does not hold batteries. There's a chunk of tape here. I was actually told at Disney's Galaxy Edge, this plastic piece here is made to hold this closed. There's apparently nothing in there, and it doesn't really matter, so why wouldn't they just glue everything? I find that weird. I haven't removed the tape, and I don't think I will be, at least not on this figure. Going into the back here, there's absolutely no extra details, greebling, or anything of the sort. Kind of a shame. It would have been nice to have a bit of extra stuff here. And it's not impossible for you to glue things on and add extra paint applications, but here I am talking about do-it-yourself things when this is clearly a collector's piece and not necessarily something that you would want to modify, let alone take out of the box. When you look at the side of the legs, they do look nice. It's fun. We have an added piece of plastic here. This thing is removable. You just have to push down on the top here, pull out, and then up comes out relatively easily enough. We don't get any paint or detail work along the inside here, which is kind of a shame, but it is something that's going to be hidden most of the time unless you had purchased or have some extra accessories lying around that you had gotten at Galaxy's Edge. Along the top shoulders here, pauldrons, I don't know what it would be called, the connecting points, they have a black line In the actual design of the robot, it's silver. There are silver paint applications all over this leg. Why wouldn't they just make that silver? It's so weird that they didn't give us that silver lining and chose to go with black instead. Just very odd. When I had gotten mine, the legs were extremely loose, so I would suggest maybe checking yours when you do get it. If you decide to take one out, you're going to want to tighten in the screws that are here so that you don't have any kind of weird situation where a leg pops off and it damage your poor little SK. Getting into the cute round body, underneath you have a receiver button that you're going to press a couple of buttons here with the remote in order to connect these two things together. I do it during my unboxing, and again, if you'd like to see that, be sure to check out my link in the description. And next to it is the on and off button. It's very easy to forget that this robot is on, especially after 5 minutes where it goes into sleep mode. Once it's in sleep mode, you can't wake it up. So what's the point of calling it sleep mode? It's so weird. I guess it's to preserve batteries, but it doesn't. If you leave it in sleep mode, the batteries do drain and they do die on you. So there's just weirdly no point to it shutting down after 5 minutes in the first place. No matter what buttons you press on the remote, it won't do anything. You actually have to turn it off and then turn it on again in order to be able to use it. It's just kind of weird. There's quite a few weird things when it comes to the fabrication of this figure. The plastic we get here is a matte metallic looking blue. I think it's a great color choice for an astromech, and I'm such a fan, and it's part of why I really wanted to get this. On the front, we have quite a few paint applications here and there. The vents have some nice cutout line work in them, so this way the speakers won't be too muffled when your droid is making its little noises. We've got a couple of paint applications on some of our white plastics here to somewhat resemble the dark metallic blues. It's really not accurate to being the same tint of blue, but it's okay. The larger white panel on the left side that has paintwork on it, they easily could have put the decal there for the armband. It has a logo for it in the initial design, and that's a thing that would have kind of gone a long way. It seems small, but for those of you that had gone on the Star Wars hotel and had that fun experience and used your little armbands on everything, it would have been cool just to have the little decal here to indicate that this truly was a similar figure to the one from the Star Wars hotel. I'm sure you can make your own. I've seen some kicking around online here or there on different types of websites, Etsy, that sort of thing. It's something that the robot should have had or come with as an accessory. One single sticker that would have been fun. Most of these pieces along the front of his chest actually open up, and some of them allow you to put in a couple of accessories. A quick warning, SK does not come with any accessories. These are things that you would have gotten, again, at the Droid Depot at the Galaxy's Edge. The top white ones can pop open, and we get some nice silver paintwork in here. It's nice because it's a good break in the color when you do this, as well as having these things open. It's kind of fun. It adds a bit more personality to the droid. The gold ones on each side open as well. And these gold ones have little peg holes that you can put in accessories. The two white doors also open where the smaller one ends up having another peg hole, and the larger one actually lets you put in a personality chip. Personality chips are things you also pick up at the Droid Depot. There's a whole range of them, and they basically change the sounds and the attitude, I guess, of your droid. However, if you don't have a personality chip to put in there, don't worry, your droid does come with a default one built into it. And SK's over here is, I would say, 95% R2-D2, maybe like 99%. He doesn't have the scream, which is something where if you get the Droid Depot personality chip of R2, you get that wailing little scream that R2 does. It's just, he doesn't have it built into his default preset, and I guess that's okay. I personally would have liked a couple of other sounds that were different and maybe more unique, but I could never afford to go to that wild and extravagant Star Wars hotel, and because of this, I have no idea of what SK really sounds like 100%. I watched quite a few videos on the matter, and he does sound quite a bit like R2. I'm just saying I didn't hear all the sound fonts in his library, so I guess it's possible he's got a couple of different ones. This little figure doesn't really. Slowly spinning this tube body of his around, He has all sorts of sculpt work and greebling here with very minor paint applications. I'm a little sad that they didn't put a bit of extra work into the back. Filling this in with a bit of more gold definitely would have given it a more premium vibe. You unscrew 2 pieces on his back in order to reveal his batteries. He has AA's. This Disney figure here comes with Disney figure batteries. For some of you that don't know this already, they're horrifying. Most of the time when you buy products like this that are Disney affiliated, it's rare to get a sealed product, and you would also rarely want a sealed product if it's really old, because odds are those batteries blew up. It's really a shame, but Disney batteries are not particularly good and not long term. So it's better to get something that had been opened, just to have the batteries removed, than maybe put back inside if you're going to buy something like this. Because there's nothing worse than getting a figure, especially if you're in the future watching this video right now, and it's, let's say, 8 years old, 9 years old, and you get it, you open it up, and the whole inside is just completely destroyed because of battery acid. So be mindful of this. I would almost say when you get it, you throw the batteries out right away if you don't think you're going to be playing with this thing on a level that will burn out the batteries within a couple of days. On top of the battery pack, we actually have molded in warnings. It would have been lovely to have these maybe under one of the feet. Why would you put it in a place like that? It's not super noticeable, but it is weird that they had so many options to put this somewhere that wouldn't have necessarily been visible to the naked eye while you're displaying him somewhere. I think it's really funny how the battery pack has a little molded illustration of which direction to turn your tool in order to unscrew the screws properly. That's kind of funny. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And that's it. That's like the level of how much I know about construction. Oh, I'm not wearing any gloves. I should be fine. Just gotta be real accurate. Take it nice and slow. Moving on, this head actually pops off, and you have all these cool, fun little greebles and circuitry inside that's all like fake, but it's fun that they would do this. However, this is the exact same thing you're going to get from the Galaxy's Edge robot. This is put together and made using the same concepts as the Build-A-Droids from the Galaxy's Edge, so because of this, many similarities. They could have just sold this at the Build-A-Droid workshop and it would have fit in perfectly. Not to mention a lot of these body parts could have been reused or recycled for the depot when you're building your own robot. However, because of the fact that they wanted this to be somewhat exclusive, I understand why they wouldn't. Although now that they're shut down, I'm pretty curious to see what they're going to do with it. The head can rotate, but you can feel the motor turning as you're doing it. It's not something I personally like to do. I like to let my machinery do the machining. If I feel any kind of force or anything like that on a figure, I just let it be. The head itself has some problems. But let's talk about the good thing. It is very cute, okay? I love it. I think that the design is nice. This little gray eye here piece can actually move around, which is really cool. You have a little LED in it, and thus begins my first complaint about the head. This LED doesn't work. And all I can think of is why. Why wouldn't you do it? All of these droids from Build-A-Droid actually have the components to have 3 LEDs, and they all do. So why on this head are they only giving you this tiny little rectangle and the main eye to light up, but not this third one, when they easily could have just added it in there and it would have cost them little to nothing to do that? They went out of their way to not give a connecting piece for this function, and that's weird. So many weird things with this robot. Another thing I have to mention is the fact that at the bottom of the head, we have this dark black band that goes all around. Check out this box. Isn't it a lovely box? Well, on the back of this box, the pictures shown here have it in white. Well, why wouldn't they make this in white? You can tell that this head had gone through a white painting process because we have a white band on the top. So they could have easily have put it at the bottom here, and I would have preferred a white band completely white than a black one. I understand that this white band has a couple of cutouts that are black on the inside. However, there's far more white than there is black in this design, so if they were only going to go with one color, white 100% should have been the right one to go with. I keep calling it a color. White's not a color, people. It's a shade. And as a professional illustrator, Master Yoda says I should be mindful of the shades. And he would too, considering for him there's really not that much room for gray. The head itself has some nice little cutout sculpt work here. The callbacks of gold are lovely, and he has these unique little antennas coming out of his head that are just flipping cool. It's so small, but it's the sort of thing that really gives a design a little bit more character in comparison to so many others that we've seen over the years. At the very top of his head, he has a peg insertion piece that's again made for the extra clawed arm that you get from the accessories pack. Because he's built out of pure droid building materials, you can easily swap out the heads. And I would say most parts are interchangeable, providing you're sticking with the R-Type Astromech series. In the far distant future of 2025, I had gone to Disney World. It was pretty awesome. I went with a couple of friends, and that's when I built this droid over here. And at the same time, I picked up a personality chip as well as a bunch of accessories. The accessories pack comes with all sorts of different little things, and the only real articulation you're going to get from the smaller ones is the claw that can kind of open up halfway and close, and the saw blade that can sort of spin. None of this is electronic, it's all manual to move everything around. And they all peg into those holes that I had spoken of earlier. However, the fit for all of them isn't 100%. It is a little bit loose here or there depending on the hole that you're pegging it into, because again, the quality's not extremely premium. Disney, cutting corners. Why, Disney? Why? You were the chosen one. You get a bit more articulation with the arm that plugs in on the head. All personality chips are interchangeable between all of the different droids that you're going to build over at the Galaxy's Edge, and of course that means that SK here is no different. I got myself the super sassy smuggler scoundrel personality chip for my droid over here, but when plugged into my SK unit, I really like that personality. I kind of regret not getting another 2 or 3 of them. But as of January 2025, they're all like $16.99 USD, and that's kind of expensive for personality chip. I'm happy with the one that I have, especially since I'm most probably going to leave SK with that R2 style personality that it comes with. I also am going to show this just for some of you that might already have access to some of these. What's really cool is that the personality chip comes in a very nice display case. It snaps open and close, and it can actually fit all the smaller accessories, which is pretty cool. And the last accessory I'm going to talk about for this droid is some high-class extreme weaponry. You have the option between jetpacks or cannons, and I went with the cannons, because they are sweet. Alright, so I'm kind of joking. I'm more of a jetpack person myself, but I do want to do something in particular with this droid that I had built where I'm going to modify it very heavily, and I need cannons for this. These pieces have a little electronic connector piece that goes into the side of the leg, and of course they light up and they make sounds. They have 2 sound fonts. SK does come with instructions, and they're actually different than those you would get from the Build-A models, which is a real surprise to me. They didn't need to print out a whole different set of instructions for a robot that's exactly the same as something that they already have. So they went with a more premium concept in that regard. However, the paper that you get is a cheaper paper, and it's not in color, it's in grayscale. So, you know, yup, just super weird. Due to the fact that SK over here is a remote-controlled, super fun, it's an RC droid. You get this lovely little remote control right here. When I first saw this thing, I thought, what a piece of junk. But then the more I kind of got used to using it and playing with it, kind of like it. It's super big and bulky. They put a couple of fun details on it that they didn't really need to go that distance, and they did. And it controls 100 times better than the application you can get on your phone. It's a terrible application. I don't understand why it hasn't been updated in any shape, way, or form. It's been around for so long. How come you can't choose the speed you want your robot to go at? It's obviously something this robot can do. Application's just not precise at all. You want to take a right and it'll turn a full 90, sometimes a 180 degree, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. However, when you're going straight, it goes so much faster with the application than with the remote control. It's just super weird. You have your forward, backwards, left, and right. This one down here is for his personality or default sound fonts, and this one up here is used for the accessories. So if you've got the jetpacks, or if you have the blasters, this is the button you're going to use for that. If you don't own any of these little extra accessories, this button right here is going to be a DED button. I don't like you. My friend here doesn't like you either. You watch yourself. Yeah, well, I'll be careful. You'll be dead. I think that if you don't have any accessories built into your droids, this should have given you something in particular. Give me an extra one single sound font, like play a little Star Wars fanfare theme, or cycle between 2 or 3 special fonts that you can only get while you're at the park and your robot is interacting with some of the interactive park things that your robot can interact with. Oh, by the way, if you have one of these droids and you go to the Galaxy's Edge, be sure to have him on and somewhere where you can see him, because he does interact with all sorts of the different things that are there. It's cute, it's kind of fun, and I would have liked to have known this before I built my droid right before the park closed. See, I didn't get my droid there in the morning because I was all like, I don't have to carry it around all day with me. But it turns out I did want to carry it around all day. I really wanted to. So after having built the robot, I was literally like running from point to point just so I could hear it make a couple of noises like, oh, that's cool. Let's go to the next one. Oh, that's kind of fun. Let's go to the next one. So just if you want to avoid this, build your robot earlier in the day and just drag him around everywhere with you. You'll hear him say different little unique beeps and boops, and they're all kind of cute and fun, and you'll never get to hear them ever again after that, unless you go online and get some sort of third-party application that might allow you to hear them whenever you want. And to finish up the button system on this remote, we've got this big, clear, textured one. And this thing moves the head left and right. So if you want to become a droid controlling master, you have to be good at controlling him left and right, forward and backwards, while at the same time pushing the button to get a little bit of his personality and his beeps and boops out there, while spinning his head. This is not easy to master, but it is possible, and I've seen some people do a great job of it. So I guess if you put hours of hardcore training and work into it, you can be a droid controlling master too. On the top, we get a couple of like little designs here where we've got these 2 little peg pieces that pop out. One of them has a light in it, and that lights up every time you push a button. The other one is just there for looks. Dead. On the back, we've got the on and the off switch, and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, unscrew this to show you some AAA batteries. Again, Disney batteries. When you buy this, take them out, throw them away in an ecological manner. Don't just throw them in the garbage. House of Mouse batteries. Just like super weird. Comparing the SK controller next to the standard default controller that you get from Galaxy's Edge Build-A-Droid, they're the exact same thing. The only difference you're going to get here is color. I love the fact that they put the colors here to kind of represent SK somewhat. And this way I won't mix up which one is for which droid, or I don't have to put like a sticker on the back of one of them. There's also the January 2025 Droid backpack. This does not come with him. You have to, again, like everything I've been saying today, you gotta pick it up at the Galaxy's Edge. This is a decent bag. On the front, we have a beautiful window where you can see your droid interacting. The sounds still come out of here, no problem. It doesn't sound too muffled up. We get a lovely logo down here at the bottom in a thicker plastic rubbery chunk that's sewn on there. And then they put a black wash along the middle that kind of bleeds out to make all these designs pop a bit more. When I got in this originally, I thought maybe I'd go over it myself with a black wash and really make it black. But the fact that it's not perfect is very symbolic of the old, rusted, used up, beat up Star Wars designs. So I've actually come to like it quite a bit. I also really love this little patch that we have down at the bottom that says Droid Depot. This is a sweet little patch right here. Like my t-shirt. I just love the design. I think it's really cool. The fact that it doesn't say Star Wars anywhere, or Disney's Star Wars, or Disney, or anything. It's just Droid Depot logos. They're marketing it towards being more immersive. On the left side, we have a little pouch. This pouch fits your controller perfectly. There's a nice silver reflective sticker that says Custom Astromech. The back is pretty simplistic. There's no foam padding or anything along the back. The droid's pretty light. You're not going to really feel it jabbing into your spine while you're walking around. On the other side, we have a reflective industrial automation Astromech droids. And these little hole thingies that you'd think would be to put utilities or tools. This should have been made to hold all of your accessories. I don't understand why it doesn't. It can really only hold the arm properly. You can see in this picture that they're on there. You are going to lose them 100%. They are not staying there. It's just unfortunate, but this is not useful whatsoever. The bottom is more reinforced, which is nice, but I would have liked it to maybe have like a rubbery kind of thing down here just to be a little more reinforced. That's me thinking of lifetime surviving hardcore rugged bags, and this is something that's holding a very light, tiny little droid. I'm not going to be throwing this in mud or chucking it in tons of sand and snow and salt. It's fine. The whole top part opens up very well, so you've got great access to be able to put your droid inside. And these double zippers are pretty good. I personally would have preferred it if we had something cool on them. They just put the same material as the bag. It does feel solid and it's easy to grab onto while you're opening or closing, so at least it's practical. It's just personally, it would have been nice to have maybe little Droid Depot patches on this, or the little logo, you know, like that would have been cool, little metallic logo of Droid Depot for the zippers. That would have been too cool. People would be buying this bag just to get those zipper pieces so they could attach it on the zipper of their jackets and the zippers of their home backpacks and their zippers of their makeup kits, and they just be like living that Droid Depot zipper lifestyle. And I think it's because of this that Disney was like, no, we don't want to make too much money off of a product like this, so let's not make those metal zippers. And thank you, Disney. My wallet thanks you. On the inside, there's this little metal loop, and this thing actually had a chain and an alligator pin on it, which I had to remove because I had brought this thing with me on the plane, and that alligator pin is deemed as extremely dangerous on the plane. And I wasn't going to take any kind of risks with having to fight or deal with somebody, so I threw it out. Pin thing with the chain is usually made to be able to hold the BB-8 models in head, but like while it's in here, I don't have a BB-8 unit, and I'm not going to get a BB-8 unit. I think that they look cute, but my problem is that he's literally rolling in his own filth, and he just gets scratched up and beat up over the years. And if you want to make your own paint job, I'd be so stressed at the slightest little nicks or scratches. I don't know. It's just, BB-8's not for me, even though I do think the design is pretty adorable. We have a zipper piece that opens up, and in here you can put in all sorts of stuff. Mainly every single accessory, personality chip, and all that stuff that you've got lying around, providing you don't have too many of them. But one single copy of each fit perfectly in here for me, and it didn't affect my droid in the slightest while he was in there. And look, the first piece of Star Wars marketing pictures. Product logo is on here. This is cool. It's a nice touch to put it on the inside like this. This way, those of you that look at it will have that memory of when you went there and you got your stuff and you had a great time. And at the same time, it is well hidden and not necessarily right up in your face. I like that. It's subtle. At the bottom of this bag is a removable foam cutout that's just perfectly made to hold these droids. Upon his release being sold in the store of the Star Wars Hotel, this SK unit was going for about 100 USD. No. That's impossibly expensive. But you know what? When you're a big collector, a big fan, and you're on a big adventure like that, especially at the Star Wars Hotel, where money is no option and you can't think like that, you're just there consuming. I could see this as being a pretty fun memorabilia from it. I'm a little disappointed again that they don't have the little armband piece here. And another thing I didn't mention is on the initial design, he actually has this little plaque on the side that's the logo from the Chandrila Star company. And so it would have been nice to have that on here as well, just to make it a little bit more unique. They didn't do that again. So all the things that make this seem as though it comes from the Halcyon ship have been stripped away from it. And now it's just like, it's just a droid with these colors. It almost looks like it would be the production model of the droid on the factory floors, and maybe every Halcyon unit got them, and it's like this before they end up putting on different like logos for different ships. I don't know, I'm kind of stretching here. But at that price, it's a hard pill to swallow. Star Wars products in general are extremely pricey. Even years ago, when they came out with the LEGO Ultimate Collector's Edition Boba Fett ship, this thing was expensive for when it came out. You want a Star Wars lightsaber? This thing is expensive. Whether you're buying something that's officially licensed or third party, it doesn't matter. Anything that you get with a Star Wars branded logo on it genuinely you're gonna have to pay that Star Wars tax for it. And when you're a hardcore Star Wars fan in general, most people just seem to blindly close their eyes and consume as much as they can possibly get from it. A lot of the designs are super cool, the concepts are fantastic, the music is terrific, and perhaps not all the stories are that great, but it doesn't change the fact that a lot of the costumes and the visual elements are really on point. So when you tell somebody that this unique, special droid from a specific Star Wars hotel is only available at that hotel and at 100 bones, that is not such a hard pill to swallow. As of January 2025, the custom-built ones were 120 USD. But you go through that fun experience of building it, and you don't have to rush your building experience. I spent an hour there, putting in pieces, taking them out, trying tons of different things. I really got my money's worth, I would say. I had a really fun time. But you're not going to get that with SK, so this is much more of a collector's piece. Can't believe I took them out of the box. No! Of course I would. I love taking things out of the box. I got this for me and my own private personal collection. I didn't get this so that I could just like save it for the future. But some of you out there are getting it for that reason. And my remark about removing the box doesn't really matter now that I've told you that you have to take it out of the box, or if you purchase one, especially in the future, it needs to be opened so that you can make sure the batteries are no longer inside him and he is safe and sound. For those of you that spend so much money going to this hotel in the first place, everything's so expensive, and in my personal opinion, I think that when you spent the 4,000 USD that it costs you roughly to be able to go on one of these trips, I'm paying $4,000. Well, here, we're going to give you a droid building class where you all get to build your own SK. Everyone gets them. Congratulations. Then you get to go to the clothing shop where you've got a couple of main clothing pieces that you get to choose from, and then there's accessory row 1 where you get one, accessory row 2 where you can choose your second accessory out of these selections, and you just get to leave the shop with it. You're not paying extra, it's all included in your $4,000 price point. And then when you do the Jedi training with the lightsabers, they give you a unique Halcyon lightsaber from the hotel. So this way, when you finish and you leave your whole Star Wars hotel experience, it costs you that $4,000, but you leave feeling like you're a Jedi. Here's your exclusive lightsaber, your droid, and your attire that you made for yourself. That would have made this experience absolutely incredible. I can't believe how much greed in this whole thing was involved in order for them to not give people this. It costs them little to nothing to do that in comparison to the huge amount that you're paying to be able to have the experience in the first place. I'm going off topic, or am I? Unfortunately for Disney, the Halcyon Hotel did not last. They Order 66 that sucker so quickly, it was gone after like a year and a half. And of course it wasn't much longer after these guys started showing up at Disney character warehouses at 70 USD a pop. Essentially getting a Build-A-Droid where you're not getting the droid experience.
And there's this one.
$70 USD sounds incredibly accurate and fair. How long do you think they had those in stock? Now you gotta try and find them on the secondary market. If you're looking for this figure, I would probably avoid eBays and things like that. It's always good to kind of join Star Wars groups in order to get your stuff. I had mentioned it during my unboxing, but this I had picked up specifically from such a group that was absolutely incredible. Plus you can always like check out the sales threads and the people that are selling so you can see if they're more trustworthy or not. You ask for all the pictures, the dates, all of this sort of thing, and then they ship them out to you and they're awesome and you're happy and everything is awesome. It sure is. If you can find this robot for a decent price and you really love the design to him, I do think he's pretty worth it. I've had a lot of fun driving him around, and having him in your backpack and pressing the buttons to the remote while it's like in your pocket so people don't necessarily see it and it looks like he's alive and interacting is always really fun, and it's always a big hit with kids. So if you got a bunch of kids hanging around you at home and you want something to play with, this is pretty cool. Just keep in mind that it's fragile, it's not made out of the strongest materials in the world, and I've literally seen these things break into tons of little pieces. At Galaxy's Edge, there's an area where kids can drive them around, they just smash them into each other, parts just flying all over the place, little chunks of plastic. It's very expensive to give this to a younger, more volatile child. So keep that in mind. Of course, this is much more of a collector's piece, and most kids aren't even going to know what the heck this thing is in the first place anyway. So I guess that's something to be a little mindful of. If you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to force hold that like. You heard him. That subscribe button definitely does go a long way to help support my channel.
Tap that notification bell. It'll help you be notified whenever Erik makes future videos. You'll be watching. I'll be watching.
Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! When I make my reviews, I always number all of my files. This way I can find them a lot easier, and it kind of gives me a good idea how many I've done so far. You'll never guess, by some pure random happenstance, what today's video number is. Wipe them out. All of them. Day A day. Dead.